Hey everyone, we're back with some more deep dives. Today we're looking at Celesteela. This very bulky steel type has been kind of tearing up Series 9 as of late. Figured it'd be a good idea to cover it. Remember, if you like what you see, make sure you hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, ring the bell for notifications for when new videos go live. We put out content every day, usually mostly pertaining to VGC in some form or capacity. The only day is Sunday, which we're trying to get an idea on what to do with that day. So yeah, let's get right into it. So Celesteela is a very bulky steel type from the Ultra Space is what we'll call it. Came in via Gen 7 and was reintroduced via the Crown Tundra. It's a very bulky steel type, which also notably has flying, making it immune to ground, so it's actually only really weak to fire and electric for the most part. And like most Ultra Beasts, has really weird stats. Celesteela, though, is more of a well-rounded Ultra Beast, having a bunch of stats hovering in that base 100 area. I believe HP is like 97. There's a couple of defenses that are above 100, but everything's right around that 100 except for speed. This means that it can just do about anything you want to. And 100 base and anything is usually fairly decent. So when you have 100 in everything except for the one stat that doesn't really matter in Dynamax format, it's pretty good. Could be anything from a bulky wall like it was in Series 7 to this Power Herb, Life Orb sets that we saw in Series 8 a little bit. Or nowadays can be these Dynamax threats that we see for Series 9 with Assault Vest. So it's really, really cool and kind of a double-edged sword for it, which we'll get into that a little bit later. Picking the right Celesteela for your team is probably easier said than done. So, looking back at Series 7's Celesteela ideas, it kind of was refilling into that Ferrothorn slot. We saw a lot of Ferrothorn going early Players' Cup 2 going into what would be now Series 8 in Players' Cup 3. But Celesteela hadn't really got a hold of gotten a foothold in the format yet, so it was still kind of a new thing. You saw Leech Seed and Heavy Slam and very defensive sets like that. But the teams that people were playing tended to lean towards offensive and bulky, where they're very damage heavy and not so much support, where you could afford to set up in front with a Celesteela or a Ferrothorn or something like that. So it kind of didn't really take off, but it was still like around. As we moved into Series 8, however, Celesteela saw a little bit more play. Ferrothorn was very weak to Sun teams. Groudon in particular could really just beat up on it, just not being able to, like, carrying Fire Punch and setting up Sun just meant Ferrothorn was in danger a lot of the time. Celesteela, however, didn't see as much of a threat since Groudon's main stab is all ground. It had to be immune to that and could kind of use the switch in that was really, really good. Also played really well on the Kyogre teams as a rain abuser, just so you didn't have to worry about your fire weakness as much. For those Series 8 sets, it kind of ranged from the very offensive with Power Herb to that bulky set that we saw in Series 7 a little bit. But both were designed to be in the back, kind of be these late game powerhouses that after your Dynamax was done, Celesteela could come in, kind of clean up some KOs, pick up a couple defense boosts, and take over the game from there. However, nowadays you mostly see it, you can see it as a lead where it'll Dynamax in front of you and then proceed to just burn through your team with its array of coverage moves and just take over the game that way. So let's look at some partners for Celesteela here. Celesteela is a very bulky Pokemon, but also has like decent damage output. It's nothing on par with like Landorus or Garchomp or Spectre and stuff like that, but it's still fairly decent. However, its bulk is where its true power lies, and if you can make Celesteela even more bulky, it's going to be a good thing. Pokemon like Landorus T, Incineroar, Grimmsnarl, anything that can set screens, can do Snarls, Intimidates, Will-O-Wisps, Eerie Impulse, things like that. Really, really help out Celesteela a lot in just being this annoying bulky steel type and just sits on the field forever. The other pairing that you can do with it, which is very common right now, is like with Garchomp. Since Garchomp wants to run Swords Dance, you can slap Earthquake on it. Landorus kind of fits into the same bill. You can do like Swords Dance EQ stuff next to a Celesteela that's sitting here with Flash Cannon, setting up Airstreams, Just overall, just being annoying. You can set up Sand if you want to do Sand Force Landorus for some reason, or Sand Veil Garchomp. It's really, really cool stuff. But very physical, fast threats like Celesteela a lot because Celesteela is a bulky special attacker. Other Pokemon besides Garchomp come to mind like Urshifu, Landorus again is a very popular thing, things like that. So looking over Celesteela's move pool, it's kind of not really all over the place anymore. A lot of the sets you're seeing now for Series 9, this was taken like 2 days ago, are very offensive. Flash Cannon, Air Slash, Meteor Beam, Flamethrower, stuff like that. You sometimes see Protect, and that's where these Power Herb sets come in. Power Herb and Assault Vest are very close together, and they both kind of do similar things, but Power Herb is a more Dynamax, like it gets more out of Meteor Beam than the Assault Vest version does. However, you trade off that fire coverage that is really good against opposing Celesteelas and things like that. The other sets you see here are like leftover sets with Heavy Slam and Leech Seed and Iron Defense, and those are kind of trending towards the bottom half of the format. They're not as good right now because the format is very, very damage heavy. It's got a lot of people are prepared for Celesteela more, so the bulkier sets tend to not do as well. So looking over some of these sets that we got up here today, the first set here is the common Series 7 set, which is the Heavy Slam, Light Leech Seed, Iron Defense, stall you out, take forever on the game. Oh, I now win because I've healed up a bunch and your HP is almost gone. These, like I said, are kind of trending away from what's popular right now. They're still good, they're just not popular, they're not as common. So when playing against Celesteela, assume that it's going to be able to deal more damage than you think it's going to. The middle set here, the Power Herb set, is kind of the step up to this Assault Vest set. This was the set, the Power Herb set was the set that we saw most of Series 8 and trending into Series 9. You saw a lot of Power Herbs, so you can just get a Meteor Beam off, get that special attack boost, and then you get another boost because you picked up a KO. So then you go to +2 immediately, then you can Dynamax and do whatever and all that stuff. The Assault Vest set kind of tries to do the same thing, except we don't get to do the cool Power Herb strat. We are instead a little bit bulkier and can actually like take a hit if we line up correctly, switch in on certain things, maybe get the Meteor Beam off if we need to, or we could just immediately Dynamax it. There are also offensive sets with like Life Orb and Weakness Policy, but they're very, very rare. You don't see them very often. Weakness Policy hasn't been around since probably early Series 7. It was usually paired with like a Raichu, which can Volt Switch off of it, and then you can switch in something else, like an Intimidator or something like that. The Life Orb sets tended to run Steel type, Flying type, and then like Iron Defense and Protect, just so you didn't go down very, very quickly to your own like chip damage. So looking at Series 9 Celesteela, it's hard to pick which one you want to play with. Assault Vest has become more of the norm. Power Herb is really up there right behind it. It's more of these offensive driven sets that are catching people off guard. This doesn't mean you can't play the bulky sets, but trying to figure out what your team needs is more important than just slapping Celesteela on because it's good. Things like the defensive sets are usually good on when you have a bunch of damage threats. You don't have to worry about Celesteela's being able to output damage all the time. Make sure to properly EV train to get the correct beast boosts. There's a bunch of Celesteela's EV set spreads out there. Make sure that you get the right one for what you want it to do, and double check your numbers because if you mess up the EVs on your beast boost, you'll be getting boosts in the wrong stats. I've seen people who have EV spec'd their Celesteela using defensive sets, but they want offensive, so they end up getting defense boosts instead of special attack boosts, and they don't snowball like they're supposed to, and things like that. This is a weird thing to say, but don't get super cute. Make sure your EV spreads are usually pretty normal. There's some weird ones that people want to play with, and like everything's got to be precise. Celesteela is very, very bulky as is. It doesn't need a ton of help. Going max HP, max special attack, and 4 in special defense just to round it out to an even number is usually good enough for what you need to do. Beating Celesteela is tricky. Since it's got only very few weaknesses and it's very bulky as just on its face, you gotta chip away at it early, often. The more damage you do, the better. Electric and fire types are really good, but Celesteela has rock coverage for fire types, so beware of that. Against AV specifically, it's easy to chip away at it, but be prepared if it sits there, it turns into a Dynamax, to be able to stall it out. Try not to give it any boosts. If it gets a couple beast boosts off, it's just going to snowball out of control, and you're never going to be able to catch up to it. So what did we learn about Celesteela today? Being one of the strongest Pokemon in the format is a good thing for it. It could also be a bad thing. I think Celesteela's benefit was there was a lot of ground, a lot of rock, a lot of fighting coverage, and it's neutral or immune to most of those. And it had a bunch of options. If your opponent just assumes you're Heavy Slam and you turn around and Power or Meteor Beam something and then go to +2 special attack, your opponent's not going to be able to catch up to that. And don't be afraid to use those bulky sets. They still have uses. A lot of teams that need bulky steel types to kind of just beat this wall if you need it to be. Celesteela does that really well. And as bulky as it is, if you constantly chip at it and keep switching to avoid giving it any boosts, you can eventually break through this bulky steel wall that is Celesteela. And that being said, I wanted to thank everyone for hanging out and watching this today. Make sure to go check us out on Twitter. Discord link is down in the description below. As always, remember to subscribe, like the video, comment down below who you want to see me cover Friday, because this is going up Wednesday, yeah. So make sure you comment down below what Pokemon you want to see me cover Friday. I'm thinking of doing a couple things, but I'd like to hear from y'all what you want to see. So have a wonderful morning, afternoon, evening, wherever in the world, and we will see you all on Friday with some Pokemon y'all picked. Bye, guys.